Hi, and welcome to the Flute Talk Podcast, where we talk about all things flute. If you're looking for more tips or lessons from Amelie, please check out musigy.com for all the sheet music, transcriptions, albums, books, and flute lesson packages. That's musigy.com, MUSOGY.com. Also, if you're looking for posters, fingering charts, or merch, you can head over at our merch store at store.theflutechannel.com for all your flute needs. If you want to help us on a monthly basis, you can also consider joining us over at Patreon for as little as $2 a month. This helps us make more great content for you. Check the description for more info. Finally, if you're looking into buying a flute, please consider using the Flute Center of New York and use our code TFC for a 10-day trial in trying 3 flutes. Check the description for all the details. Now on with the show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Flute Talk Podcast. I'm Nick.
And I'm Amelie.
How's it going, Emily?
Good, how are you?
I'm okay. We're doing it today on Saturday instead of the last Sunday of the month, but if you're listening to this podcast, it doesn't really matter. But here, we're going to be doing it live today on Saturday for the first time in a while, because we couldn't do it last week because we were in Toronto, which was the real last Sunday of the month, an early Sunday, where we went to Toronto.
Yep.
And we saw Robert Aitken play with several other flutists and stuff like that to celebrate, I guess, 50 years with the new music concerts.
Yeah, that he
founded.
Oh,
Co-founded.
Yeah,
Jinx. And so we're just going to talk a little bit about that event, and then we're going to take some of your questions. So if you're listening to this live, be sure to leave your questions. We'll try to roll back in the chat and answer a couple as well. Also, give us a super chat if you want to. If you found any of our stuff helpful this month and you're listening in and you have the ability to use super chat, feel free to do that. If you don't fret. So yeah.
Yeah. So we were invited to go to that event. It was supposed to be in 2020, I think, and because of COVID, it was postponed. It was to celebrate his 80th birthday, but then it celebrated the 50th anniversary of the ensemble, of the new music concert, I guess.
Yeah, the group, yeah. Not the ensemble, it's not an ensemble, it's like a series,
it's
I guess.
Series,
a series and a concert, yeah.
And like Robert Aitken is a very important flutist in the history of our instrument, especially in Canada, and he had, but really worldwide, because he had works composed for the flute. A lot of composers wrote for him without him even asking. That's how much clout he had, I guess. Some amazing composers, and it was very interesting. And also, I think all the performers were part of, let's say, his flute dynasty, if you can call it like that, like either former students or students of students. I thought that was cute as well. So that was a nice event. And also, during the concert, like, it was a special event, and there was this book. It's called Just a Glimpse, Stories from 1979, and that was given to everyone at the concert, but I think it's going to be sold as well if anyone's interested. I took a glimpse at Just a Glimpse, and it's interesting. It's like a year in the life of a flute soloist in 1979, like his year, like traveling a lot to play everywhere, because like he says, if you're a soloist like that, you don't want to overexpose yourself in one city, or you won't be reinvited in a long time. So you can't play more than 1 or 2 concerts a year in each place. So you have to move around a lot. So a lot of traveling, teaching, master classes, because that's a year where he left the Toronto Symphony Orchestra, and also left teaching at University of Toronto. So he was really making his living with playing the flute as a soloist, touring, doing master classes. And when he had downtime, he would compose, because he's also a composer. He wrote some very interesting stuff, especially for the flute. So yeah, so that's interesting. I started reading it. And what did you think of the whole thing?
Yeah, it was cool. It was a really cool experience. It was very nice of them to invite us to go. And the concert was called like Pieces for Bob. So it was not just they only showed, kind of like you said, a glimpse of his music being written for him, non-commissioned and commissioned, because there were a lot of non-commissioned works that I guess he was saying that the composer would just write for him, which was really cool. and we got to hear a lot of cool stuff. And we also got to hear him talk as well about certain little tidbits of each collaborating or not collaborating, but just in the situation, the story behind each piece, I guess, of how it was created, and it was really cool. And it seemed like back then and even now, a lot of composers were very impressed with him and very impressed with his style and very impressed with just himself, like as a human being and stuff.
And as a player.
And stuff. So that was really cool to see. And we got to hear some really cool works. Like we got to hear George Crumb. We got to hear John Cage works, which are not really often performed live. I think I've only seen John Cage's performed pieces, any piece really, performed twice. This was the second time. And this was also the first time I ever seen Bob Aitken perform live. I've hung out with him at NFA and stuff like that a decade ago, but never heard him perform live or even in masterclass. Only through YouTube videos and whatever. So that was really interesting hearing him play now. And I have no reference of what he was like before, except for like recordings. It's still pretty mesmerizing, even at 82.
Oh yeah.
So
it's part of him. He can play the flute.
So it's part of him totally. So. Yeah. It was a good experience. I really liked the venue. Was really nice. It was in the heart of downtown, or heart of Toronto, so it was cool. It was just outside of downtown, but nice hall, nice people, and like I said, the music was really quite good. Like I said, it's something to aspire to. I know we've had composers written for us in the past as well, so we have a little bit of that insight, and we know the composers, some of them quite well, and have hung out and are living our own path in that type of thing. But I saw a lot of reflections and a lot of similarities in his stories to our stories, which one day will enlighten you guys if you ever want to know about those things. But it's cool, yeah. So
it's inspiring to see someone like with such an amazing career and who had a big impact on the music world, I guess. In Toronto by making this series, and also like as a flutist and as a teacher, because he taught a lot of people. Right.
And if you're not familiar with the series, and if you're ever in the Toronto area, his series, his group, not as an ensemble, but their group is called New Music Concerts, and they do new music, and they have concerts throughout the year. And you can go to newmusicconcerts.ca or .com. I can't remember exactly, but I'll put it in the notes. And it's really cool. So new music, it can be such a wide cast net of sounds, right? It can go all the way to abstract and minimalist to very poppy sounding as well too, like very as you hear it on the radio, people composing stuff. You never know.
I guess
I'm just saying contemporary music in general. I'm not saying that's what they program, but when we say modern music or contemporary music, it's very interesting.
Usually in that context, it doesn't mean pop, but
But I mean, poppy sounding at points in music. Like I'm not saying.
If a composer decides to
include
make a citation or like a little callback to something, but like it's usually like don't go to a contemporary music concert thinking it's going to sound poppy, because that's not, you're going to be very surprised.
That wasn't what I was implying, but I'm just saying that there's big mix of stuff, because contemporary can be a mix of so many influences and stuff like that.
You can even take a part of a back piece or whatever.
Or Debussy, like what we heard in the weekend.
Yeah, sometimes they, how do you say that? They quote.
Yeah.
Like kind of quote other composers from the past. In their compositions. Yeah.
So it was inspiring.
Yeah.
I thought it was very fun. I thought, we knew Diane, who is Bob Aitken's daughter, who also played in the concert as well, who played so many different instruments. She's very cool. It's always cool to hear other flute player sounds and other people's artistic tastes and abilities. It's so cool to see how other people approach things, and it's I'm sure when you go in a symphony hall or something like that and you listen to the flutist when they're playing in the orchestra, you're also getting stuff from them too. It's so cool seeing that. So that was my impression.
Yeah, that was cool. I had studied with him like 20 years ago for a 2-week workshop in France. I loved it. He's an amazing teacher, very, very smart man, very curious, intellectually, like always trying to learn new things. And he, I had very good memories of him, so I was happy to see him again. That was very cool, and yeah, I liked going to a concert because we didn't do a lot of that lately, so that was very fun.
Yeah.
Well, nice outing and everything. So yeah, that was cool to be invited and to witness that.
Yeah.
And get the book. That was that. I'll have fun reading that.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful time capsule of that 1 year. He's had many other years that he could write a book about the same thing, but he chose that one. And if you have a chance to get the book, please do, because it's very interesting to see what life was like as a person who is a soloist, but also is also a programmer of music for a concert. A concert series. All at one time. Like it's interesting to see these little introspective. So they're only 1 or 2 pages long each of each experience, but it's very unique.
And if you're like, let's say you're an aspiring, a professional flutist or something like that might be interesting to see what that life is. Like, of course, it's changing because the world is always changing, but it can still give you an idea of what it is like.
Yeah.
So it's very cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. So we're just going to jump down to some questions. If you guys are listening in live, please leave a question in the chat about anything flute. We'll try to answer a couple. Like this one here, I think I saw something here about tips for auditioning in an orchestra filming version. So I assume that's probably filming yourself for the audition, whether it's orchestra or whatever ensemble you're doing it. Like I said, a lot. We read recently about some auditions and how some orchestras or groups want their auditions to be recorded. Some want a clock in the background so there's no editing, so you do everything in one take, and stuff like that. And they say be sure to have a good microphone, or if not, if you're recording just with your phone, for instance, put your phone further back than you think, because that microphone on there is ultra sensitive, and its range is not very long. It's going to peak. You're going to hear cracks. So try to keep it far away, maybe 3-4 feet, maybe a little further, because what they want to really see is actually what they hear in most of the time. They want to hear the music. So, but there's also like little microphones that people can buy by Rode and stuff like that. That are a little plug and play. You plug inside the headphone jack, or you plug it into your USB port or lightning port. They're under $100, and those things work very great, and they are incorporated with the video recording function. So you can do the same thing, move the microphone and the device further back, and hit record and test one run, and then see how it sounds. Move it around, move the microphone around. It's sensitive by
maybe
where
when
it
you
is.
test, don't do the whole thing. Like just do a couple
little
of
section,
like a few seconds, and then move it around, because you don't want to exhaust yourself. But also, I think the way they do it, if I understood correctly, very often is that they want the clock in the back to see that there's no editing.
That's what I mentioned. Yeah.
No, I know, but.
Right.
When the people who are adjudicating, they don't see the video. They only get the audio version.
Usually they only get the audio version.
It's just for the
first preliminary.
Like people check if you did any editing, and then it goes to the
Exactly.
Only the audio.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like an audition behind a curtain, I guess.
Also, like I said, just to say before, like, don't just record a few seconds, because an excerpt could have a whole wide dynamic range of low and high. If you only heard yourself for a couple seconds of low, and then you start playing high and the recording is clipping, try to play something that has a whole wide range first of sound, because the microphone is sensitive from distance of sound low and sound high. So be sure to do something that has a wide dynamic range, and then test that like that, because you can have a rude surprise after that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So hopefully that helps you out. Like I say, you can also, that's like bare bones, of what you can do for recording for auditions. Practice recording yourself, if you have a good take, use that take, but practice it, and then try to put yourself in the mindset of that. And try not to waste too much in your budget because people can go overload and buy the best mics and stuff like that. But if you don't know how to use it, you're going to have drawbacks and
it's also about where to put it and
bottlenecks. Yeah. Hopefully that helps you. If you have a little bit more in-depth on that, let us know, and we can try to help you out with that. But tips for auditioning for orchestra in general, practice the excerpts in front of people. Try to, when you have them to a certain point, so you can feel a bit more of
Yeah,
that
or
stress, you know, so
film
you can balance
yourself and
yourself,
do
film
the,
yourself. Yeah.
or record yourself, listen to it, and be your own teacher that
Yep,
way.
exactly. Also, maybe send the recordings to somebody you trust that's also a musician to evaluate you, so you can have a second opinion. Things like that can really even out your audition process. That's some of
And
the
when you,
tips.
let's say you record the whole thing, don't stop, just record and then listen, and you'll see where you need to practice more. You know, it also gives you an idea. And if you never play the whole thing without stopping, the first time you do, it might disturb you. So you have to get used to not stopping, because people make little mistakes. It's part of life. So you have to be able to continue. Yeah.
What else do we got here? Oh, I saw here that somebody said we have a huge variety of flutes. Yeah, if you're watching live, we have a huge library of flutes, variety of them. They all serve a different purpose. Yeah, they're different styles. Some are Chinese flutes, some are Indian flutes, some are Japanese flutes, some are, did I mention Indian already?
Irish,
Indian
I
flutes,
think.
Irish flutes too. And there's
There's a
also low
Baroque
F.
flute.
Yeah, there's a low F and there's a D Irish flute and a bunch of Bansuris and the Baroque flute and piccolo down there at the bottom in a case. We have a bunch of flutes and a couple other things like that.
And
Yeah, they all serve a different purpose for different types of, and that's not even all of them. Like, I mean, in general, the flute making world, like there's Bansuris in almost several different keys. So we only have three or four of them out of I think there's like 20 or 30. There's so many of them. Like there's anyways, there's just so many. I've went on website.
Have higher or
Yeah,
lower
keys,
Oh,
higher keys. Yeah.
And so,
because they only have a specific range.
yeah, and there's so many different flutes. Like almost every culture has its flute.
Yep.
So
Has their own. Exactly.
But like I don't play those flute well at all.
Yeah, we're
But
just.
it's fun to.
It's fun to have them and try them for sure, because it's pretty fun. What do we got here? I also, the instrument master wants to know. Also, I can reach the second B flat on my flute. Is there any way I can increase my range? Okay, so second B flat, so that's the middle high B flat. So to go higher, like if you're on a regular flute, they just want to know how can you increase the range. They're stuck on B flat, high B flat right now.
Okay, and you know your fingerings. It's just you can't produce the sound, I guess. If you have difficulty getting high notes, maybe check harmonics. Work on harmonics a little bit. It can help you. So play a low C and get all the harmonics. We have a video about that. I think it's how to play higher notes or how to play high notes. And so practice harmonics. And this way you'll learn how to blow to get the high notes, and then just use that knowledge and apply it to the high notes by using the real fingering afterwards. So a harmonic, basically, you play a low note, and by blowing differently, you get higher notes. Should I try it now and show it how to do harmonics? So there's a series of notes that you will get. I'll get a little bit further so the mic doesn't... So you play a low C, let's say. And then you keep the same fingering, but you get higher notes. Seems easy right now, but if it's the first time you do it, it might be a bit more difficult. But by reaching those higher notes, I've tried to figure out like what you're doing with your muscles to send the air a bit faster and all that. And then just do that same thing by doing the fingering of the high notes, and you'll get them. Usually it helps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Danny wants to know here, how do I get the mid-range staccatos, E flat, D, to sound nice and crisp as opposed to airy and flubby sounding? That's a great question, Danny.
E flat, and D, the second octave. Yeah, okay, those notes are a bit rough, huh? They're a bit... I feel the D not so much, but the E, it's fragile. Well, if you feel a note is fragile, I would say maybe try to give it more timbre. Maybe try with your nose, like going a little bit, because it's going to give it some edge. You know, you can use vowels in your mouth to change the sound of the flute. So if you use more ah or eh or oo, the sound will change, like or the D. You hear one is more like open, more ah, the other one eh, you know. So that can change the color of the sound by changing the shape of your mouth inside, changing the vowel, using your nose to a little bit or less. And that's something I can tell you. Also, don't try to change your embouchure too much between one note and the next. And it's normal that not every note sounds exactly the same on the flute. Like, I don't have perfect pitch, but when I listen to flute music, I can usually know which note is being played. And a lot of people can do that because I've heard those notes so often that I recognize the timbre. So it's normal that you have to accept that not every note is going to sound exactly the same. I don't know what you think about that, but
homogeneously, it can be worked on. It's just, it takes effort because like the flute is not built really well, to be honest. So it takes a lot of work in those mid ranges because of how the tone holes and where those holes are. Even on a regular, let's say one of those ethnic flutes, even in that middle range as well, still has that issue
of being a bit hollow or
So you have to work on it to blend it all together.
But I think sometimes people get too caught in that, and then they can lose the phrase. They can lose the big picture, you know? Because we really pay attention so much that we can get caught in the detail and forget the big picture. Just saying, like, when you work on your long tones and stuff like that, do it and try to get a homogeneous sound. And when you play pieces too, but don't forget the big phrase, because that can be the downfall of that, you know, to be too picky about the sound on each note. Then you lose phrasing. So
yeah. So hopefully that helps you out. Try to practice those things. I think like you said, we have a video about that as well, I think, somewhere. But I think we should maybe do a new one.
There's a video about the middle register, so that should be helping.
Yeah, it should be something that get you going. Milk Tea wants to know, do you have any tips on playing high F sharp, the third octave F?
Oh,
sharp?
Yeah, that note. It's something.
I was practicing it yesterday a bit. I like it a lot. It's actually quite, for me, it's easy on my flute. I don't know why.
Yeah, okay.
But I know on other flutes it's not. I know that it's not, though.
Most of my students struggle, but what I notice is that they're scared of it. When you're scared of something, your body becomes tensed. And when you tense up, you crack notes. So the first thing I would say is don't be scared. The worst that can happen is it's going to crack. But if you get too scared and too tensed, for sure it's going to crack, you know? Like, that's what I noticed, because people stop blowing when they get scared, and then there's not enough air to have the note come out at all. Not enough air speed. So yeah, practice it, and practice it slurred. Like, practice, let's say, a B to a F sharp and slur it. Like, I'll go back a bit.
You don't need.
No, it's fine.
No.
You know, the F sharp is basically that F sharp. It's just a harmonic of the B. You know, you can even play it without changing your fingers. Just so just a bit low like that, but like really. Just the pitch is different, but you can do it like that. And other notes just. You know, and slur it. Because, first start by tonguing it, but then after that, try to slur notes towards that high F, and stay relaxed in your body. Don't tense up. Only the air, you know, only the muscles that push the air should be pushing. The rest should be relaxed, I think.
Yeah. What else do we got here? So we have maybe time for about maybe one or two more questions. And then we'll be calling it for this month. As usual, we do this on the last Sunday of every month, so we'll be doing it next May this May at the last Sunday of the month, where we will talk more about flute and all the things that we've been doing this month coming up. What else do we got here? Oh, Milka T says, thank you about answering that question. Cool.
You're welcome.
Great. What else do we got here? Zerps wants to know, have you ever tried playing the Fantasy Pastoral Honor? Well, you've played. I think it's on just. I think it's on Just Practicing. I think it's part of the Just Practicing series.
Maybe I played it in concert.
Yeah.
But I've never recorded it. But it's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I love it.
But you played the version, not the version of it, but there's a Doppler version for 2 flutes that you've played with Alexa that is on our channel.
But it's not Fantasy Pastoral Hongroise.
No, but it's based on Hungarian fantasies. It's Hungarian fantasies for 2 flutes.
Doppler.
So it's based off of similar motives and stuff like that of Hungarian fantasies. There's not many. There's a lot of.
It's from a concert, and we did it pretty well.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah.
So that's a reminiscent of that, and it's written by the same composer.
But this one is. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll just try to do a little bit of housekeeping about stuff that we've been doing and stuff that's coming up. We have both flute methods now. That's a concurrent thing that's happening. We have the 15 beginner flute lessons, and also the 20 intermediate flute lessons, where you can go and find it on musogy.com, musogy.com, which is an interactive video and PDF and MP3s of a package that you can go and buy there. Right now, I think the intermediate package is still on sale. It's $80 instead of $100. And then the beginner is also there too. And also we have some sheet music, some transcriptions and stuff like that you can find there. And also, if you want to find our merch, Amelie's wearing one of our shirts right now. You can go to store.theflutechannel.com, where you can go and find all of our merch. We have a nice Happy Practicing water bottle. We have a bunch of shirts. We also have our fingering chart poster in black and in multicolored, which has been selling quite well throughout the time. And what else do we have? We also have the channel as usual, and we're going to be doing some more music videos coming up. We released this month a new video about Reichert and how to play Reichert number 1. We had a lot of people liking that, so we're going to try to keep doing that and release a couple of those on that series. Do Reichert number 2 and how to practice it, and keep that rolling until we finish those. So yeah, books, merch. The studio is pretty full right now, so no online lessons right now. But when we do have availabilities, we'll announce that in our newsletter that we release when we have news to talk about. And then that's really it. I think. Anything else we're missing? If we're missing anything else, if you want to find a flute and you're looking for a new flute and you want to go and try some, you should go to the Flute Center in New York at flutecenter.com. And there you can use our code TFC, which gives you bonus perks, like trying a couple more flutes than usual. You have a 10-day trial in trying these flutes. You have an extended warranty. Instead of 12 months, I think it's 18 months. But all that's in the description below, where you can find that out. And like I said, you can use our code TFC. You can either call them or check their website or go there. You can even go to New York City and do a whole trip and try their flutes. They have the world's largest selection of flutes, so they have every brand you can think of under the sun, and they're all flutists there, so they're all willing and able to help you there. So use our code TFC. So yeah, what else? Do we have any other final questions here? I have Michael Setzer, or Michelle Setzer, I am so sorry. Michelle, just recently found out about you on YouTube. Just bought a used flute to relearn, as I played in middle school, and now I'm 60. Love your Vivaldi winter performance. He's my favorite composer. Thank you. Oh, yeah, we love Vivaldi. Very nice of you to say that.
Nice
yeah,
comment.
we have a lot of people like that, at various ages that, we get at least several emails and comments like that every month. And so it's beautiful to see all you people coming together in the community. It's really cool to see that. And, you can relearn and learn at any time you want. That's totally possible. And like I said, we were just looking at Vivaldi, for instance. Just funny enough, I just gave you a Vivaldi piece to look at, so we're going to try to look through that. Vivaldi is one of our favorites as well, and we're going to be doing another music video on Vivaldi winter, and maybe segments of the other 4 seasons when we're in Europe, to do some music videos, some nice, Vivaldi era inspired backdrops and stuff like that. So that'll be fun. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's always cool. And I think that's it for this month. So, like I said, if you have any questions about our experience when we were at the concert, or any questions at all about flute or music in general, just be sure to go and leave us a comment down in the description box after this video and after you're listening to this online. Also, please, last and final thing, leave a review on Apple Podcasts if you're listening to this through your podcast of choice, or if you're listening through Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Spotify now, you can leave a review or a 5-star review. And you can also leave a written review over at Apple Podcasts, which we read. And we're going to slowly start putting them on here and talking and presenting them. So it's a little incentive for you to go and do that for us and leave us a 5-star review. That helps us out a lot to bring more people here listening to the podcast. And it's always good having more people. More people is always fun. So, yeah, thanks everybody so much. And have a great rest of the month.
Yeah, see you.